Ibrahim actually is from NCA, from Somalia. So recently I've done some work for NCA to provide them IPv6 strategy for that country. So this is part of the ITU project. So so I work with Somalia, and basically he's going to share what are the strategies that required to move IPv6. Um, okay, the mic is yours, Ibrahim. You can continue presenting.
Thank you very much, Dr. Neva, and thank you to the participants, both those who are at the venue and those who are joining remotely. Can everybody see my slide?
Yeah. Could you go on the full presentation? Go on the full presentation.
All right.
Full. Is it possible to do that full? You go
Yes,
down,
yes.
there's a button down there.
Yes.
Down.
You cannot see this.
Can you go down? There, that's the one. Okay, good. That's good. Okay.
All right. Okay. So I think it is already good. It is afternoon there in Bangkok. So and it is almost lunchtime. So I'll quickly go through my presentation and will not take you long from your lunch. With you the IPv6 migration strategy for Somalia. This is the work Dr. Neva and I and other members have contributed to develop this strategy for the country. Okay. All right, we will go through a brief background of Somalia's digital status and to see how Somalia is placed digitally. And then we will look at the deployment status of both IPv4 and IPv6. And then we look at the some benchmarking of other countries who have who share similar context with Somalia and how they have managed to implement the IPv6 migration strategy. We will look at the transition strategy developed for the country and the phases it has. And finally, we will conclude the presentation. All right. This is just a snapshot of Somalia's digital adoption as of last year. This is a nation of around 18 million people. And around half of that people live in urban and big cities. And in terms of the technology adoption, there are around 45% of the people who use cellular mobile connections. Of course, these are referring to the smart mobile phones who are able to use like 3G, 4G technologies. In terms of the internet penetration, now compared to the total population, the penetration rate of the country is around 10%, with almost 11 people of that population use they are active social media users. So here you can see the gap that is already there in last year. This gap tells you that the internet penetration rate required by the target set by the government is far more less than the current state. And here, this graph shows the growth of the internet users over time since the last 10 years, from January 2013 to January 2023. So from 10 years ago, the internet users were only 200,000 people. Now they are about 2 million people who use the internet in the country. And you can also see the year-of-year change over that decade. All right. In terms of the IPv4 public address deployment status, Somalia is on the 178th place globally. So that is 0.001% of the whole IPv4 addresses as of July 2023. So Somalia need to have more public IPv4 addresses to achieve the target of the penetration rate set by the government of 25% by 2025. So since IPv4 already exhausted globally, Afrinic is unable to allocate any more IPv4 addresses. So the current state and the target, there is a big gap between the current deployment state and the target set by the government. So and here the IPv4 addresses are already exhausted. So there is no the Afrinic is not able to allocate the required number of IPv4 addresses. If we look at the deployment status of the version 6, Somalia is on the 106th place globally. That is 0.003% of the whole IPv6 addresses. That's also as of July last year. So with reference to the above statistics, the Federal Republic of Somalia need to have more IPv6 global unicast address in order to achieve the additional 21.3% penetration rate by the 2025. So this target was a part of the ICT policy and strategy developed from 2019 to 2025. So that target, that strategy states that Somalia need to reach 25% penetration rate by 2025. Here, we have done some benchmarking of the IPv6 implementation with Saudi Arabia and Egypt. Those are countries with similar context and in the region. So you can see that we have looked at the different angles. We have looked at the country population. We have looked at internet users, internet penetration rate, the allocation of IPv4 addresses, IPv6 addresses, the total addresses used so far, both version 4 and 6, and users per IP addresses. So the difference is that in Somalia, the IPv6 task force have not been established yet. There are plans that they will be established early this year. If you look at other countries like Saudi Arabia, the task force has been established in 2008, while in Egypt, the task force has been established in 2004. So all right. So in order to for Somalia to migrate to IPv6, this strategy has to be followed. The vision is to implement the IPv6 for the continuity of the internet and support the latest technologies such as the 5G Internet of Things in the country. The mission is to achieve the 25% internet penetration rate. And we also need to, in order to implement this strategy, we need the formation of an IPv6 task force. This task force will guide the implementation and monitoring of the IPv6 strategy in the Federal Republic of Somalia. We also need to develop regulations, guidelines, and technical specifications with the support of the local ICT stakeholders in order to support the transition of IPv6 in the country. There also should be some KPI monitoring to monitor the implementation and progress of the adoption of the version 6 protocol of the internet. And finally, there is a need to participate in the regional and international events to share knowledge and experiences and exchange ideas and strategies to address the challenges faced while implementing the strategies. Now, the strategy being developed for Somalia has 3 phases. Each phase will last 12 months, that is a year. The first phase is preparing for the transition. The second phase is the implementation of the dual stack operation. And the last phase is to monitor and make changes to the strategy. So in the first phase, we will look at 6 different angles. First of all, we have to establish a specialized training center to prepare the local force with IPv6 knowledge. And then we have to request additional IP address allocation for IPv4 and IPv6 to support current and future needs. We have to also conduct a series of workshops and IPv6 summit locally to promote IPv6 technology. We have to also ensure effective participation in the local, regional, and global IPv6 workshops, conferences, and other related activities. There is also a need to establish test labs to test the hardware and software before going into real production environment. And finally, there should be a conformance policy that is in line with the international standard and that establishes the conformance of the test lab locally to test before allowing the product and services to be distributed locally. So here in the regulator, we have a unit that is in charge of the type approval of the hardware and of the devices. So the plan is that it has to be included in the future needs. The type approval requirement has to conform with that policy and ensure that all the future technology devices should support the IPv6 technologies. In the phase 2 of the implementation of the dual stack operation, this strategy, the dual stack strategy, has to be discussed by the stakeholders, and then each stakeholder need to implement before starting the dual stack infrastructure. And this enables the operation of the infrastructure networks of the ISPs, exchange points, top-level domain of the country code, and other relevant stakeholders. So those stakeholders need to enable their infrastructure to work both in dual stack mode. And we have to also prepare the dynamic host configuration protocol servers, DNS, and webs to support the dual stack operations. And finally, it should enable the commercial internet service that is based on IPv6 for consumers. Okay. All right. In the last phase, that is basically to monitor and make changes to the strategy. So the government has to ensure that the target has been achieved and provide support to local stakeholders to use the latest technologies such as 5G and IoT. The government has to also ensure the targeted network services and applications are supporting the version 6 of the protocol. And then it has to also ensure the penetration rate is achieved and make any changes that is required if the above target is has not been met. This is just a timeline that has been proposed. This timeline starts from 2023 up to 2026. However, change management is absolutely necessary among the local ICT stakeholders. So they will be supportive of the government vision and mission over time. So the introduction of new technology could change the strategy over time, and local stakeholders should be prepared to accept this change. So as you can see from these recommended milestones and timelines, we have not been able to start and establish the task force in time. This would be this would be shifted to this year, and from this year, each phase should take 1 year from its starting point. In conclusion, I would say that with the exponential growth of the internet users in the Federal Republic of Somalia, the version 4 of the internet protocol is unable to support this exponential growth because of the limited addresses within the rear in the region. So immediate actions are required to implement the version 6 in order to support this demand. This strategy would assist the Federal Republic of Somalia in implementing the version 6 of the protocol in stages to achieve the internet penetration target of 20% by 2025. Thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to acknowledge one more time Dr. Neva for having for supporting the development of this strategy and for giving me this opportunity to present this with you. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Okay, any question to Ibrahim? I think we're almost near to lunch. I think all of you are on the way. Okay, good job, Ibrahim. I think Somalia is a typical example, which is developing nation that moved to IPv6. They already started well with ITU supported them to do the strategy. Now they are going on the next level. So I think the whole African region is, things are happening. Honestly speaking, Afrinic, I mean, talking about Afrinic, Afrinic is one of our ATP under the IPv6 forum, and they're very aggressive moving forward. So things are happening in the way. Then we can see 2025, one more year, US got to stop working IPv4. 2030, China already announced no more support for IPv4, like Prof. said. So let's don't talk about IPv4. Don't tangle with that. Let's move on to IPv6. And we have to move. There's no more turning back. So if you need any more discussion, or I think you can contact me. The slides all will be on the website. You can get the slide. If you guys want to do any work in research in 5G, IPv6, I think both myself, Prof. Suresh, even Dr. Shankar is here. We were very pioneers in this. We've been doing training globally, doing capacity building around the world. And I just met Prof. Sinchai from Thailand just now. He's still around. I think he's still not retired. So very much so. So you can keep in touch with us. Thank you for joining us today. And we hope to see you the next APAN meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ibrahim.